In this video, I'm going to be teaching you all the must-know basics about JSON. And before we get started, make sure that you like this video, sub to this channel, and hit me up on Discord or Instagram if you want me to give you a private lesson. But now, let's get started. And so, JSON actually stands for Object Notation. It's also lightweight data interchange format, which is why it's used to send data between computers. It's a plain text written in JavaScript object notation. And because of that, a JavaScript file can easily convert JSON data into JavaScript objects. And since the format is text only, JSON data can easily be sent between computers and used by any programming language, which is why it's a must. And now we know what a JSON file is, let's make one. So we're going to name it users. And the most important part is going to be adding the period.json, which basically tells that we want the file to be a JSON file, like here, index.html, main.javascript, and so on. But now we're going to go over the syntax. So let's make an object, and curly brackets usually means object, also in JavaScript. So if we do something like let person, and then we do this, that means that we're going to make an object. Now let's not save this. Let's go back here and go over the syntax. So let's first set the name, which is going to be the key. And to set a key, if I write the name, we can see that we get an error. That's because we have to put them in quotation marks. So once we wrote the key, we have to add a colon and then the value. So it's going to be a string, and we're just going to write Josh or whatever other name you want to write. And so this is going to be the syntax. So we first have to write the key in quotation marks. Every key has to be in quotation marks. You write colon and then the value. And in this case, it's going to be a string. And now that we know the syntax, let's go over a few data types that we can use. So the first one, we've used a string. Let's use a number. So we're going to write age here. And let's make his age 20. So he's going to be 20 years old. Now let's do something like middle name. And let's say that he doesn't have one. So we can set this to a Boolean. So false. False. That's another data type. Now let's make an array, and this array is going to be his pets. So that means he's going to have multiple pets. And so pets, first one is going to be, let's say it has a dog, and then let's say it has a cat, a rabbit, and so on. And now let's go over the last value, which is going to be null. So we can just change the false to null, because we can say that the middle name just doesn't exist, so null means none. But now let's say that this is going to be a JSON file inside of a database. So we would have something like the name, we would have something like their username, their age, and then also the password. So password, and let's just, I guess, censor this. So the username is going to be Josh123, like this. And now let's actually make another user. So if we copy, paste this under, and add a comma, then we can see that it doesn't work, and that's because we have to put this inside of an array. So let's copy all of this, and then click on the left square bracket, and now we're going to see that we've added them, and our first user is going to be inside of them. Now, once we've done this, let's add a comma and then paste it again. And now we can see that we don't have an error. So let's make another one. This one's going to be Mike. We can change the username to Mike, random numbers, password, just 3 letters, numbers, whatever. And we can say that he's going to be 26 years old. Let's do it one more time. So our third user is going to be, let's do Bob, and we can do Bobby and then random numbers. Let's do this. So now his password is going to be, let's just see that it's really long, and he's going to be 40 years old. And what we can do now is copy all of this, go to our JavaScript file. Let's make a variable, which is going to be users, and it's going to be equal to what we've created. Now let's try to console log this. So users, And now we can see that we're going to console log the array with all of the objects inside of it. So we can see that it works. But when you actually fetch something JSON formatted from another site, then it would actually be a string. So it's going to be a string and it's going to look like this. So if I console log it now, then this is what we're going to get. We're going to get it in a string format. And there's actually a way in which we can convert this to a JSON format by writing json.parse. And then we're going to do users. And now we can see that it's going to convert it back to a JSON format, and it's going to work pretty well. And so because we can change the format of a JSON file from a string back to a JSON format, there's a reason why we do that. And that's because when you send data to a web server, it has to be a string. So going from a JSON format like this, if we're sending it, we have to convert it to a string. So there's also a way in which we can do that. So if we actually console log this users again, then we can see that it's going to go back to a JSON format. And to convert it to a string, we're going to write json.stringify. And then we're going to put the variable here, which is going to be users. And now we can see that we've converted it to a string, which is what we do when we have to send it to another location. And a great example of this would be something like local storage. So let's say that we had this and we wanted to send this to local storage. So we can go here, local storage dot set item, and then let's say users. And we're going to say users to equal to users. And it's going to be in JSON format. And if we try to console log this, so local storage dot get item, and then we do users, we can see that we get object and so on. So let's go back to application here, and we can see that it actually doesn't work. And that's because this is going to be in JSON format, and we have to change the format to a string. So we can write JSON dot stringify, and then we're going to write users here. And if we save this now, then we can see that it's going to save in the right way because we've changed this to a string. And if we actually go to the console here, then we can see that we're getting this back as a string. And this is where we actually have to change this. So what we have to do is write json.parse and then put all of that in here. And now we're going to get this as a JSON format. And so now that you've watched this video, I hope that you learned what JSON is, how it works, and that you will use it now. And this is where I'm going to end this video. So I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, then make sure that you leave a like, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any new videos. Make sure that you hit me up on Discord or Instagram if you want me to give you a private lesson, and hopefully see you in the next video.